Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to
Smash like.
That right there is now our advertisement. I'm just cut out the like, comment, subscribe. It's just gonna be that.
Dab on that bell.
Dab on that bell.
All right, guys. Well, I want to talk about cryptids.
What is a cryptid, Brittany?
A cryptid is a mythological monster thing. I don't know what the definition of a cryptid is. I'm just making stuff up. Ding, go to Wikipedia. I don't know.
It's like a monster.
It's like a monster. It's like Bigfoot, the Loch Ness monster.
It's a conspiracy theory monster.
Yeah, basically.
So like folklore-y monster.
Yeah, folklore monsters. So I'm always super into cryptids. I love them so much. I don't know if I necessarily believe in them, but I like to listen to the stories. They look like a fun ghost story. And I'm going to try a new thing where I try to find cryptids in video games.
Okay.
And talk about...
Like Slenderman? From the game Slenderman?
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see when we get to it. But the first one I wanted to talk about was is called the Flatwoods monster. Have any of you guys ever heard of Flatwoods?
I have not.
You haven't?
Only because you've already told me about all this.
What about you, Hutch?
No, I haven't.
You haven't? Okay. So basically, to give you a little backstory about what the Flatwood monster is, it happened in the town of Flatwoods, West Virginia. Of course, I feel like all of these things happen in West Virginia.
Yeah.
In the woods.
Seems like they have a good rural folklore tradition.
Yeah, it seems like all these things happen in like really rural areas because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah. Except invent monsters.
None of these are going to be in an alleyway in New York City.
No, probably not.
Not just Ninja
It's all
Turtles
just
there.
rat
Ninja
kids.
Turtles,
Ninja Turtles.
So, the first incident happened September 12th, 1952, and it was just like a bunch of kids playing out in their yard one evening, and they see this like bright light, much like a meteor, fly across the top of their heads and land in the woods. And they went and ran in and got one of their moms and was like, let's go check this thing out, which I feel like is the smartest thing the kids ever did. So they basically walk through the woods for a little bit to see if they can find it. And they come to like a pulsing red light, like at the top of the hill. And they shine their flashlight on it. And suddenly this like weird... It's like described as like kind of an alien, kind of like a robot type of thing, was coming at them. And they have said that it's like between 10 and 15 feet tall.
Okay.
And it's kind of gliding above the ground. And it has like flashlight eyes, basically.
10 to 15 foot tall alien robot gliding flashlight eyes.
Yes. And the mom described it as having like claws for hands, like the actual like claw machine like claws, and it had like this weird like pointed hood, basically.
Okay.
The reason why this struck me is I was watching a documentary about the Mothman, and this popped up, and I saw a picture that was what the family drew right after they did it.
Is it like some 8-year-old shit?
So I'm going to just pass the phone around to everybody,
But
we're going to put it up on the thing. So this is a drawing that they did, and that's supposed to be the scale of it.
Oh. Huh.
And they also, when they saw it, it was gliding towards them, they like ran away, obviously, because it scared the shit out of them. They also smelled like sulfur gas, and it made them super nauseous.
Okay.
And I think there was even one incident where someone reported that their dog had like died or whatever from the gas. I don't know if that's true or not.
Sorry, I love the businessmen trying to communicate with the robot.
Right. And then this was a picture of the people who saw it, and that was their drawing that they did.
It kind of looks like the woman on the right.
It kind of does.
Yeah.
Yes.
They just, the pent up fears of having to deal with their mother.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So what are
and then here's another little picture of it.
Okay.
So it struck me about this the first time I saw it
That's that appears to be smaller than
Queen of
the
Spades.
drawings.
That's either a big ass tree.
It's true.
Yeah.
So what struck me about it is that in this documentary, they were mostly talking about the Mothman, but because that also happened in West Virginia, they kind of talked about this for just briefly, and they flashed up this photo in the documentary. And as soon as I saw it, I freaked out because that is the same aliens or ghosts that are in Majora's Mask.
Oh.
If you guys have ever played Majora's Mask, there's a weird little quest.
Which are also ghost witch aliens?
Majora's Mask is already like a super creepy game.
Yeah.
But this was such a weird, like, when the quest happened, I played Majora's Mask a couple years ago. I was like, what the fuck? Are you serious? Like, these are aliens? Like, I mean, they call them ghosts in the game, but they're aliens.
Yeah.
They're attacking a ranch, and you have to defend their cows, basically. And if you fail, the cows...
Of course, you're defending cows.
Yeah, the cows will be
aliens.
abducted, and one of the little girls will be abducted, too. And then if you talk to her the next day, she's, like, kind of out of it. Like, she can't remember anything. It's, like, a really weird I feel like, an N64 game.
Yeah. Well, Majora's Mask in general is fucking wild.
It's a bizarre
I just
game.
thought it was so wild that this ghost or monster or alien or whatever that was described in the 1950s as having like a spade type head. They got flashlight eyes, having claw hands, and it glides on the ground. I just thought that was so crazy that Nintendo lifted that folklore right out. And again, I found a lot of things where people have said that, yes, this is in Majora's Mask, but I haven't found any articles about how Nintendo has made a comment about, we basically lifted this from the Flatwood monster folklore.
Do you think it's like a Jungian theory of collective unconscious where the same idea pops up in a different place? Or do you think
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like, though, there might be some cryptid person in Japan who's just like into cryptids or whatever and like heard the story and was like, I'm gonna put this in the Zelda game. Like, I just thought that was really interesting that just popped up.
I think that's a reasonable assumption because I think, Japan has a rich history of folklore and it seems like kind of cryptid mythos would have like heavy crossover there. That's fucking
But I thought that was really bizarre because I was just watching that documentary and they just showed the picture and I was like, what? Wait, hold on.
I have fought that thing.
Yeah, I have seen that thing before in my dreams.
Well, what I always like... I agree
and they
with
even
you.
like levitate and glide in the game too. It's like,
as soon as you showed me
it's
the
the
other
same fucking
pictures, I was
thing.
like, "Oh yeah, definitely." And the reason being was because, well, the Japanese like creators use outside culture all the time and then adapt it to their culture to make something new all the time, just all the time. I mean, look at Neon Genesis and Christianity.
yeah.
That's definitely not a Christian anime, but it has a lot of Christianity in it. And I just see the same things. Like someone's like, I need a cool monster.
Yeah.
Monster. Yeah. American monster.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's imagine that we are all monster designers working for a video game company. Like, where do you look for that? You look for weird ass monsters either in local folk. Like, I think folklore is a rich vein for like monster creation for like
and I think
conceptual
it's
enemies.
even more interesting that game was made back in like Majora's Mask was made in what 99 2000
2000.
so that's when like the web was still there but it's not as easily accessible as it is nowadays where you can easily just search for something but back then they actually had to like
You're
really
going to the
dig.
library and getting old newspapers.
yeah or something like that.
I mean, I don't know if you knew this. There are a thing like it was kind of like the internet before the internet. They're called books.
Encyclopedia Britannica. Hello.
And books have things in them. Sometimes information, sometimes stories, sometimes pictures.
God, I fucking hate you right now.
I deserve it in this moment. I'm mansplaining the concept of books to you. No, but also like there's a whole sub question of like how the fuck did a book about cryptids in America make its way to Japan?
Yeah.
Like,
so it's also worth mentioning too that while I was doing more research about the story of this cryptid also appears in the Fallout 76 game, which takes place in West Virginia, which we know like that game also has Mothman in it because Mothman and the Flatwood monster are both like in West Virginia.
are they bros or enemies?
I don't know. I haven't played that game yet, so I'm not sure. But their version of the monster in Fallout 76 looks a little different. I think it goes more on the like robot and gas type.
Well, that makes
thing.
sense with like the theming of Fallout as well. So.
Yeah.
That looks like a
And there's
floaty
another one on like
Mars
if you
Attacks
flip,
monster.
Yeah.
I see that.
So another interesting thing about this incident, though, is that they called the police, after they got back home.
That's badass looking.
And the tops of the trees were singed from, like, whatever the bright light was that came across the sky. Mm-hmm. And back in the 50s, there was, I think it was called Project Blue Book. And it's basically where the United States government was like, let's put a lot of focus on these UFO sightings and see if there's a threat to national security, I guess. Right. And a lot of them were just misidentified meteors or whatever, you know, all kinds of stuff people see. But there were a few that they weren't sure, like, what it ever came from. And this particular one, they tried to say was they saw a meteor crash, and then when they got up there with the flashlight, the sulfur gases may have caused some sort of hallucination. And when they shined their flashlight, they saw an owl. And that the lights like illuminated back at them, I guess, and maybe the owl was up in the tree, so they thought it was a really tall creature.
I can kind of see that
coming at them, because it kind of looks like an owl a little bit.
Yeah,
you should send an email to the lead singer of Blink-182, who now has like an alien investigation nonprofit.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about Tom? He's actually been kicked out of Blink-182.
Oh, okay.
Because he's crazy.
Okay.
But no, you're right. That guy he keeps constantly bothering President Trump. Actually,
if anyone's going to investigate it, it's going to be the founder of the Space Force.
Such a 2020 phrase.
Yeah,
the lead singer of Blink-182 keeps bothering our president Donald Trump about space aliens.
Yeah.
So has Trump ever made, like, I get that Trump wants to do the Space Force bullshit, but has Trump ever made like a definitive answer or outlook on aliens?
That's how I know that we haven't encountered aliens.
Yeah.
Or at least they haven't told him, because he definitely would have told us.
Right. Yeah. If anyone, this guy would have been the
Yeah, he would have gotten on Twitter and told us.
Maybe there's somebody at Area 51 who's like, look, I know we're supposed to give every new president this briefing, but
we can't. We just can't.
Ooh.
So.
Yeah. The Men in Black haven't reached out to him yet.
Give me a call. Sad.
Deep state.
Fake news.
But I just thought this was really interesting, and I thought it was interesting that it was tied to like a little Nintendo game from, early 2000s, Zelda. Like, who would have thought a cryptid would have appeared in like a Zelda game? Yeah. I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know. Like, other cryptids have appeared in other Nintendo properties. We were talking about this, like Nessie's in Super Mario 64.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about those too in another.
Yeah,
Don't ruin future episodes, Brian. Don't give away all the goodies just yet.
Sorry.
Spoiler
so
alert.
you can actually go up. I think, so it said it was in the town of Flatwoods, but apparently the next town over has like a little Flatwoods monster museum. I think it was called Sutton, West Virginia, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
But you can actually go to a little museum there, and they'll take you to the place where the first sighting occurred.
Okay.
Like, they'll walk you through the woods and see it or whatever.
That's pretty cool.
I don't think anybody's seen them since that initial sighting in the 1950s, but, it's a fun little folklore thing and brings a little extra money to the town.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
West Virginia desperately needs
I mean, I would stop by because I love little things like that. I love silly
that's right
things
up your
like
alley.
that. So I would definitely stop by and check it out if I'm ever in the area.
We've already vacationed in West Virginia once. We can do it again. Go check out some cryptids.
Yeah,
Isn't there like a cryptids festival?
There is.
There's a Mothman
There's
festival.
a Mothman festival in West Virginia, but it also focuses on other cryptids too. They're like little sidelines.
Okay.
So, but it's in October.
Side panels on others.
Yeah, I really want to go to that too.
Well, it's on like that bridge where Mothman supposedly goes all the time. Not the one that me and you walked under, but the there's some other like fancy bridge that Mothman's like a part of.
We'll talk about Mothman another time too.
Yeah. Mothman is a big one.
Mothman's one of my favorites, but I thought this one was cool.
I don't actually know anything about Mothman.
No,
John Mothman.
John Mothman.
I don't either. Yeah.
John Mothman Tyler.
But yeah, what do you guys think? Do you believe in the Flatwoods monster?
I believe that Nintendo got inspired by the Flatwoods monster.
Definitely.
Yeah, I don't believe in any of it. I mean, I believe that it's probably some sort of like illusion or hallucination or something. I don't know, but
they saw something weird in the woods.
We're gonna have to get our friend Nina to make that cryptid because she's like illustrating all of the cryptids right now, and we got her to do Mothman. We're gonna have to get her to do the Flatwoods monster now.
I want to believe in weird shit. I want to believe that the world is weirder and more complicated than we think it is, and I want to believe that there's crazy odd shit that we can't explain.
Yeah, definitely. I want there to still be like magic and mystery in the world.
Yeah. My sister and I had kind of a diverting, like this is the thing that I always think about when conversations like this pop up. There was a period of time where my sister was like, I don't want to understand science because that takes magic out of the world. Whereas I think it adds to the magic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't say that I believe that exists. I am open to the idea, and I would like to do more research on it.
Yeah.
I just like the concept of cryptids in general because like there's monsters like Frankenstein, Dracula.
Yeah.
You know those aren't real. The people who made them up said this isn't real.
Yeah.
Like that's a whole like okay, cool, got it. And those are fun. I like those. I love monsters.
I always wish whenever I hear stories like this and it's like a possibility that they saw something else, you know, it's not what they thought it was. I always wish I could be there to see what they saw.
Yeah.
And just be like, what did you see? You know? Because I've seen some weird stuff and then like when I've adjusted or looked harder, I saw it was something else. You know, just like a shadow or something where I'm like, what the fuck is that? And then I'm like, oh, it's nothing.
Well, I think this has the same appeal as like the Blair Witch movie, the original Blair Witch movie had on everyone was that, oh, is this a documentary?
Right.
Like, is this real? Like, and then of course, like then that just plays on like the strings of like why people love the X-Files and love unsolved mysteries and whatnot.
And it's just the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
And your brain maybe not recognizing something, and then you were like, oh god, it's, you know, this fucking thing. But I don't know. I thought it was a cool little thing, and I was just very surprised when I was watching that documentary, and it like popped up, and I was like, "Holy shit, that's in Majora's Mask!"
Well,
that's crazy.
even if it isn't like real, even if there isn't a floaty, claw-armed, flashlight-eyed monster, it's still an interesting narrative. It's still interesting to the world that we live in.
Yeah.
It's an interesting design, like of all the fucking things that put together, to hobble together.
And it was interesting too. They had the family, or like it was like 3 kids and like the mother, and they all drew little drawings separately, and they all were very similar. Like they were rudimentary. Some of them were rudimentary, but they all had the same like basic things.
So I wonder if it was an owl and 2 tree branches that looked kind of like claws, and the top of a tree. I'm just,
and a bunch of sweet hallucination gas.
A bunch of mist, whatever. So,
well, meteorites have that effect. Like people who collect meteorites out in Africa.
Meteorites.
Well, there's people don't smoke meteorites. Got it. But one of the like main things, ways to make money in certain areas in the Sahara Desert is to collect meteorites because they're easier to find in the Sahara Desert.
Okay.
Because they just.
It's literally just a bunch of sand and
it's a bunch of sand and something that doesn't look like a bunch of sand. And when you see a meteorite, they're a little bit easier to find.
I'm waiting for like the hallucinogenic.
Well, when people go and find these, sometimes they're often coming back with like monster stories. So, and that might be something for you to look into because holy shit, you want to talk about new modern cryptids? There's like a bunch of stuff coming out of the Sahara Desert in that regard.
I'm down. I always love to hear about new cryptids.
I love the idea of how folklore spreads and perpetuates itself. So I'd be interested to see some more research on that stuff.
But the Flatwoods monsters sound like a good old-fashioned like mountain tale,
Mount monster.
Good old-fashioned mountain tale.
Like I grew up in the mountains, and we always had like one of my favorite things as a kid was sitting around a table listening to old people talk about like Bigfoot and stuff, and the sightings they saw as kids and just weird shit like that.
Fuck my dad.
And it was just like in a rural area, like a part of entertainment is telling stories, and telling like a ghost story. So. You know, I feel like that's part of the Appalachian culture. So
I will, and legitimately, I'll take those ghost stories over like some of the weird things that go around now about like there's a child sex ring in the basement of this pizza restaurant.
for sure.
Or like the the whole like there's a ghost in my phone and I can't, like the people who are too scared to use technology because they think that there's supernatural effects of it. Like that one guy who's like, everyone thinks that I
haven't heard of this.
No, I haven't heard of this either.
Well, there's like stupid movies like, oh, I'm going to take over your life by watching you over your phone. And
you're talking about like those social media horror movies or whatever? It's like, you can't close the window or we're going to kill you or whatever. And it's like, just shut the laptop.
You were making me think of...
Social media is its own horror story.
You're making me think of Better Call Saul, where the one character...
he's scared of electronics.
Scared of like, electronics and electricity. So
that's right.
like
he thinks it gives
there's
them,
people
like,
out there like that.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
But yeah, that's my little segment on cryptids. Look, if you guys like this, I'll probably do more.
All right. And we'll start a festival called Cryptoberfest.
Yeah.
Cryptoberfest. I kind of like that.
And it'll be cryptids and video games.
Drink beer and tell stories.
Sports.